Hi, it's Neil Sean here on your entertainment news with the one and only, yes, Mr. Kevin Clifton, or Kevin from Grimsby. He's my guest today on your entertainment news. Remember though, Kevin?
If you miss it, you miss out.
Don't miss Kevin today on your entertainment news. Kevin, lovely to see you. Now, I have to say, I managed to secure you in a rather strange way because we met on the train, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. Where were we going? I was on my way to Grimsby.
To Grimsby, and I was going back to Murfield, and we were on the Grand Central, do you remember?
That's it, yeah. We just ended up chatting.
Chatting over a cup of tea. But you're now, you've got this wonderful new show out and about, because when we met, you were just putting that together.
Yeah.
Tell us all about it. What's it called?
It's called Kevin and Karen Dance Live, so just what it says on the tin. It all sort of started off a few years ago when me and Karen were part of another tour called Flash Mob, and it got cancelled halfway through the tour. I'm not sure why. I think maybe due to ticket sales up north, actually. Yeah. But we were building up to the Grimsby date, which I was really looking forward to because it's my hometown. So we're looking forward to going to Grimsby. And the show got cancelled about 2 weeks before we hit Grimsby.
Oh no!
And that was one of the better sold venues.
Yeah.
So we suddenly had this idea with 2 weeks to go. We said, well, what if we just ring up the auditorium in Grimsby and sort of take over the date and say we'll rebrand, we'll still put on a show, we'll do it like off our own backs, we'll call it, you know, an evening with Kevin and Karen, and we'll offer people either their money back on the tickets or just to transfer over to this new ticket and just sort of repackage the whole thing. And we called in a few favours from other dancers.
Like you do.
Our friends. Are you free on this day? I've got a tenner. I can pay you a tenner. Called in a few favours and just put a star cloth at the back and a CD for music. And we ended up putting on an evening in Grimsby. And we sold about, sort of all together with the ones that had already sold and plus some on top, about 800 tickets. And in 2 weeks we sort of scrambled this show together and it went really well. A year later, Grimsby Auditorium called us up and said, have you thought about doing another evening with Kevin and Karen, because it went really well last year. So we said, well, yeah, it's a good idea, but the only free weekend that we've got to do it is there on the calendar, which again is about 3 weeks away. So it was the same situation. We scrambled again and called in a few more favours and did the whole thing again. And this time sold about 1,000 tickets.
Wow. Because it's a big venue, isn't it?
You know it's about 1,200, something like that.
Which is a lot for regional.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah.
So then we said, well, why don't we do it properly this time and put it in the diary really early and market it properly. So we put it on again and got a few more people in, and we put it on sale around the final of Strictly Come Dancing. Wow. And it sold out in a couple of days. So then the auditorium said, do you fancy putting on a second date, like do Saturday and Sunday? I said, all right, do you think it'll sell? Yeah, I think it'll sell.
That's typically a performer though, isn't it? Do you think it'll sell?
Yeah,
will
that
visualise
work?
it.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You know, they go out on a Wednesday. You know?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we did, and we put on 2 nights in Grimsby, and when we realised that it was sort of a thing that we were onto, we then started talking about, we'd always wanted to do our own show, just didn't really know, you know, we're just dancers, so we didn't know the avenues of how a show comes to be, like how it happens, how it gets from sort of, how it gets financed and production and how it all comes together. I had no experience of it, apart from just throwing a star cloth up and calling in some favours.
But sometimes, you know, Kevin, that's probably the best way. You know, what you did at the beginning, because that's the power of what you'd achieved through, you know, what you'd done on the show, and you developed your career, and people want to see you, so they're saying, look, just do this, you know, and then, you know, and it's true. But Grimsby, we have to mention Grimsby. Now, you're from is it a little village near Grimsby? Is it called?
Waltham, sort of on the outskirts of Grimsby.
So what's Waltham like, you know, for those that have never been? How did you go from Waltham to becoming this international dancer, award-winning dancer? How did that happen?
Well, it's my mum and dad were dancers. They were competitive Latin American dancers. They were world champions themselves. My family is very much a dancing family.
Your sister, of course,
my sister, my auntie Lynn, that's my dad's sister. she was a top Latin dancer. Even my nan was like the quick step champion of Hemel Hempstead or something like that.
What a title! Hello, Nan, quick step dancer from Hemel Hempstead.
So I just sort of fell into it. so I'm told, from being about 4 years old, when like grandma and granddad couldn't babysit, I just was taken along to the dance classes, and mum and dad started a dance school up in Grimsby, and from about 4 years old apparently I just started sort of joining in at the back. Copying what was going on in front of me. I don't really remember my first dance class. From then on, it just became part of normal life. It was sort of...
Because you're just surrounded by it. It's a bit like my family here, you know, if you're in show business, it's the norm.
Yeah.
You know, you're used to seeing glitter and tap shoes hanging around.
Yeah, and it's just become, it just very quickly became part of my normal routine. Get up, have breakfast, go to school, do your homework, go and dance class.
Did you never not want to dance? Because, you know, I mean, as Sir Bruce may have said, you're my favourite. But you're a brilliant dancer, but did was it a moment when, you know, you're growing up there and you thought, you know what, I've enjoyed doing this, you know, from like, say, to 8, 9, but now you want to go out with your mates, and, you know, was there a deviant point where you thought, I'm a bit bored now, I'm not sure?
To be honest, it wasn't to do with wanting to go out with mates and stuff. It was more like the competition industry I sort of fell out of love with. There was a point where I was competing, doing really well, and then I wasn't really happy with the way I was dancing, and I wasn't really enjoying the life of being a competitive ballroom dancer.
It's a tough life though, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's really expensive, and I kept trying to hold down jobs like normal 9-to-5 jobs, sales jobs and stuff, and I kept getting fired.
Do you have to pay your own way then?
Well,
I'm a bit clueless. When you go to, I've seen things at the Empress Ballroom in Blackpool, which is lovely, you know, lovely shows, but they all fund themselves, don't they, I believe?
Yeah, oh yeah, like, so for a competition like that, the Blackpool was sort of the biggest one of the year. You train all year for it and do competitions all over the world and all that. You get to Blackpool and you can become, you know, it's like winning Wimbledon for a tennis player. You win that, and I think you win about 180 quid. It's like, yeah. So
you don't think, I could retire now.
No,
I'm not great from a ball.
You get a little trophy and 180 quid or something. So it can be really expensive. Yeah, but it can be really expensive, and I just wasn't enjoying that life. And I was like, I don't know if this is what I want to do. And weirdly, I got to a point where we were number 7 in the world, me and my dance partner at the time, and we had a meeting with someone who basically said was quite powerful in the competition world, and there's quite a lot of politics goes on. Yeah. And we were, to all intents and purposes, offered the World Championship at a price. It was all sort of like, you're going to have lessons with me, and then you'll have lessons with these people who sort of in my pocket, and they're going to be judging that competition, and so they'll look after you there, and and it's going to cost you an awful lot of money. And my mum and dad were sort of remortgaging to try and support me, because I kept getting fired from my sales jobs because I needed to go to Japan or Blackpool. And
all extremes.
Yeah. And in the end I just sort of said, do you know what, I don't know if I want this anymore. I'm not enjoying it. And then now I'm being offered this, and if I take it, and it's going to cost my mum and dad an awful lot of money to help me do that, I'm going to stand there and win this trophy and say, I'm the world champion, and kind of know how it was done. Yeah. And I don't know if I want this anymore. And I just left. I just gave up. And
big risk.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you say number 7. I mean, obviously just flip it around number 7, but number 7 is pretty big.
Yeah. We're doing well.
From somebody from Grimsby, shall we say, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so when you did that, and you told, were your mum and dad upset? Because, I mean, they're obviously loving dance. And
my mum and dad will support me in whatever I do. If I turn around tomorrow and say, I really want to work in the chippy, they'll support it. But I think they were a bit panicked, because it's all they knew and it's all I'd done for my whole life. So it was like, well, what are you going to do? What's your plan? Yeah. And I didn't really have one. I dabbled a little bit in musical theatre at the time. I did Dirty Dancing in the West End.
Which I saw.
Now, oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did. I know. I think we went and filmed at that. Now, again, you know, that was a massive event, because was it the Aldwych, I think we did?
The Aldwych Theatre, yeah.
I mean, because it had just been transferred into a musical at that point, I think. It'd been a big film. I'd never seen the film.
Right.
So you see, I know it sounds strange. Yeah. So when I went to see it, I thought I was blown away by that show. This was brilliant. Yeah. You know what I mean? But if you're a dancer, what a show to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it was very dance heavy, which I loved. And also, you know, quite near to the style that I'd been doing forever. So it was a great show to be a part of. I really enjoyed it, actually.
But you're young and you're in the West End. Could you take that in, Kevin? Do you know what I mean? Because
I know.
You're a young lad and suddenly you're in you know, the biggest, if you like, thing
Yeah,
in London.
yeah.
And everybody's coming to see you. You must be sort of pinch yourself at times and think, wow, that was, yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, I was really excited about it. I sort of went to the auditions on a whim, really. Like, I didn't expect too much of it. Sort of went to this open audition, and it was the first time I'd done any singing or acting. I took some lessons ready for the audition, did some singing lessons, worked really hard on a song, and then the acting part, they said, can you read for this part? And when they said that, I didn't understand that when they say read for this part, that they actually meant you can stand with a script and read with someone else.
Sweet, isn't it?
So I didn't know this.
Yeah,
so I thought, well, I'm going to be expected to know this off by heart, and they're going to want a performance in the room.
You're thinking Laurence Olivier, you know?
Yeah, I really went for it. I was like, so what would this character say? And how would they be feeling at this moment? I really got stuck into it. So I went in, and they said, okay, look, you know, can you come and read for this part? And there was a girl from the show sort of stood there with the script in hand. And I walked in, put the script down, and walked in and knew it off by heart. And really committed. I was moving around the room. I had my arm around this girl. I was all getting involved, putting on this big performance, way over the top. And the scene was where the character, he goes over to a fridge. And he's going, do you want anything from the fridge? There's this, there's that. And I realised that I'd sort of committed to really properly playing this part, and that it would look really stupid in the room if I just went and pretended to open a fridge. So I thought, I'm committed now. So I walked over to the edge of the room, opened the window as if it was a fridge, and started picking things up, like this bottle of water or this piece of paper. And I was like full on going for it. And at the end of it, it was like X Factor. There's people like behind a desk,
jaw dropped,
like this, and they sort of went at the end, thank you, Kevin. That was a very enthusiastic performance. Maybe. Should we try it one more time, and feel free to just stand still and read from your script? And I was so embarrassed. I just sort of gingerly went and picked it up and went, okay, let's go from the top, and then read it through.
When did they tell you? Was it that moment, or did you?
What about the job?
About getting the job.
Oh no, it was weeks later.
Oh,
it was quite a long time later.
Did you think you'd blown it? Because
I thought, well, I completely messed that up. There's no way I've got that. I made a fool out of myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I spoke to other friends of mine who are actors, and they said, oh no, you just go in and you just, you know, you can take the script with you. And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. I put on a whole performance as if I was, you know, as if it was Shakespeare in there.
I love that. That's lovely, you know.
Just totally naive. But then they, you know, they called me up and I got the job. It wasn't that particular role, but, you know, I was sort of very much ensemble dancer number one. But
doesn't matter though, does it? You know, because as you say, you've gone into the West End.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the thing. You know, I think show business people don't realise is about a list of lucky breaks and what you're prepared to put yourself out for.
Yeah.
You know, people sit there and go, "Oh, I've got an agent and manager." It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you can get through the right way, you know. So what happened after that? How did you bounce?
So
into
after
the next
that, I really enjoyed that, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to do and where my path was going to take me. And people kept saying, no, you've got to carry on dancing, go and see stuff and get inspired. So I set about just seeing as much as possible. I was going to see, you know, loads of different dance shows. I was going to Sadler's Wells. I was watching the Royal Ballet. I was all these different things. And I was like, I just don't know if dancing's for me. I was trying to work out whether dancing was what I wanted, or whether it's just because that's what my family had always done and that it'd just been a part of my life.
And you didn't know anything else?
Yeah, I'd never really made a decision, like I want to be a dancer. It was just part of my life. Like I drink water, and I never decided that I'm going to drink water. Like, you know, is it just what happens?
Yeah.
So in the end, I was sort of getting a bit disillusioned. I was like, I don't know if any of this is for me. I'm not sure. And then I went randomly one night, someone said, oh, you should go and see a Matthew Bourne show.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know who Matthew Bourne was at the time. And they said, oh, yeah, he's brilliant. Have you heard of the Swan Lake where they're all male swans and all of this? I was like, oh, yeah, I think I've heard of it, but I don't really know much about it.
Well, from the North, look, we don't know everything, do we?
Right,
you know
yeah.
We're like, oh, that sounds pompous, but we'll go along,
And he said, well, his production of Edward Scissorhands is on at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, wow, okay, that sounds interesting. You know, I like Edward Scissorhands. Yeah. And I bought a ticket, went along. I was sat up right in the gods at Sadler's Wells on my own, and it absolutely blew me away. Like, it took me apart. I was in tears at the end of it, just sat on my own. up in the corner. And at that point, I suddenly thought, I think I want to be a dancer. There was something about that show that it was about, suddenly it wasn't about competing and trying to be the best dancer against a bunch of other dancers. It was suddenly about storytelling and captivating an audience and entertaining an audience.
It was taking you out of it. That's what, I mean, I'm not just saying this, I've seen you on stage before. That's what I love about your shows. You forget your problems.
Yeah.
2 hours that you're in the theatre,
Yeah.
you know, I don't mean problems, but you know what I mean, you're drifted into entertainment. You think,
Yeah.
oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, you know. And I think, so that was that moment for you, you thought, oh.
Yeah, it was like suddenly like, oh, it's not that I don't want to dance, it's just that I don't want to compete against other dancers.
Yeah.
I want to be part of a story and a character and an entertainment.
Yeah.
And at the time also, a guy called Jason Gilkison had created a show called Burn the Floor.
Oh, yeah.
And he got in touch with me and asked if I was interested in being part of the show. It was a massive show at first.
Very sexy show.
Yeah, the first version of it, and they'd sort of taken ballroom and made this big spectacle of it away from the competition world. But I think it went bankrupt or something, like it all sort of fell apart and disappeared. But then Jason, who was the main dancer in the show, decided to recreate it from scratch. But on a very low budget. They just got a load of dancers who are like me, who are disillusioned from the competition world and wanted to get in a studio and create new stuff, sort of raw, edgy, sexy ballroom and Latin dancing. And it was sort of in its infancy as this new version of the show, and he said, do you want to come out to Australia and be a part of this?
Wow, that's not bad, is it?
So I went, yeah, okay. And I remember watching Jason as a dancer and being very much inspired by him, and flew out to Australia and was part of this company, and went like sort of newly inspired from watching Matthew Bourne stuff. And we went from being a little show in small theatres sort of in Australia and places like Reno, Nevada, in a casino where sometimes there'd be about 13 people in the audience. It gradually sort of grew and grew, and ended up going to Broadway. We ended up, we did the Post Theatre in San Francisco and then got taken to to
Could
Broadway.
you believe all of this though? Because,
I couldn't
you know
really.
what I mean, I don't mean to keep saying OG, but you know, this is what I mean. When people hear your story, the showbiz game is just so strange thing. You can be sat at home waiting for the phone and going to Lidl. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the next thing you're in Broadway, travelling around the world, going to Reno and all this. When you were sitting in these places and going to Australia, did you kind of think, I'm really nervous, I'm not sure I've done the right thing? Or did you think, I'm just going to go for this is fabulous? You know, have you got that determination?
Yeah, it was just, I was just really interested in the work, in what Jason was creating.
Your mum and dad must have been thrilled though. Do you know what I mean?
Going, what's going on? I was really interested in the show that he was putting on, and this new sort of style of ballroom and Latin that I hadn't experienced before. And I was just excited by the whole thing. I was just happy to be sort of creatively inspired again. I think that was the thing. I was so disillusioned with what I was doing. And then there was this new thing that suddenly got me really excited, that strangely, like it almost didn't matter what else was happening around it. Like I almost didn't even know how much I was getting paid or any of that stuff. You don't care though when you're enjoying the thing. And I was just so engrossed
in it. Shouldn't say that, should we? But you know what I mean? But you don't care because you suddenly you think you found your moment. You know, that's the thing, isn't it?
And I was loving it. And then we ended up going to Broadway. Wow. And we did. It was supposed to be, I think, a 7 or 8 week run on Broadway. But then it kept selling and word was spreading that there's this amazing dance show happening at the Longacre Theatre on Broadway, and we stayed there for, I think it was about 8 months in the end. We kept getting extended.
And did you like living in New York?
I loved it,
Because it is empowering, isn't it? The dream, it sounds corny, but dreams can come true. You can do anything there.
Yeah,
you know?
and I was just soaking it all up. I was just this wide-eyed kid that, like, every time we had a day off, I was looking to see what other shows were on that day, and I was just eating it all up. I was going to see everything, all these Broadway shows, and I was getting so inspired by it all. And it was like, I'm loving this.
So how did you end up then? I mean, not end up, because you're now on Broadway, you've been very successful. How did you get into Strictly? Because I've got to be honest, when I first noted you was thanks to the late great Sir Bruce, who was so lovely in calling you Kevin
from Grimsby.
Because if there's a northerner, we go, is he? You know what I mean? How did you end up in the show, and was that a difficult process, or was it, again, like a path that opened and you went, oh, okay, I'll have a go at that?
It's funny because at first, when I was a competitive dancer, when Strictly Come Dancing came about, a lot of competitive ballroom dancers sort of turned their noses up, like, oh, that's selling out if you go on Strictly, you know, that's not real dancing, you know, and all of this. And I was probably a little bit...
14 million a week.
Exactly, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I was probably a little bit like that in the early days of Strictly. I was a little bit, I don't know if I'll ever do that. I'm a serious dancer, you know, just being silly. And then as it got more and more popular, I sort of started to enjoy it. And, you know, my mum and dad love watching it, like, can't miss it, you know. And I started to really enjoy watching it, actually. And then I think at one point I just decided, you know, I'd love to one day have my own show, you know, and do my own thing. And I thought I could do Burn the Floor forever because I love it. But I won't be able to do it forever. There'll be a point where my body won't be able to cope with this sort of, this kind of dancing. And I thought, I've got to do something else. I can't just stay in one place. I've got to keep moving. And Strictly Come Dancing seemed like a logical step. And me and Karen, we decided to get in touch and audition. We were in America at the time, and we had like a Skype meeting.
Wow.
With
so
the BBC.
Century,
Yeah.
Can you imagine doing that with your mum and dad?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And then Karen actually got the job, and I didn't on that first year. That was in 2012. They didn't think I was right for the show, actually, because at the time I had long black hair down to my shoulders, and sort of I was a bit gothy, like I had black eyeliner and black fingernails, and you know, I sort of fancied myself as a bit of a rock star, you know, in Burn the Floor. So I didn't get the job, and Karen did, but then I sort of watched her in it, and then I found out that was the issue, that it was my image that was the problem at the time. Like, they didn't want the long black hair and black fingernails.
How lucky for her to be able to tell you that. Because you wouldn't know it, would you? You don't, in show business, they don't always say, I don't like it because his hair's long.
Exactly.
You go, what's that about?
Yeah. So I went in for an audition the next year for the 2013 series, and what they do sometimes is they bring in like a celebrity, and they'll bring in lots of different dancers during the day to spend sort of 45 minutes with them, and they film it like it's a training session on Strictly. So you teach them a bit of waltz and a bit of cha-cha-cha, and then have a bit of banter with them, and then talk to the camera as if like it's an episode of Strictly in the training room. And they have a look at how you are on camera, how you interact with your partner, how you teach, you know, the choreography or whatever. And it was Jodie Prenger.
Love Jodie.
Yeah, so it was
such fun.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Her as well.
Yeah, and I had real good fun with her. And apparently, so I heard, and I've spoken to her since. She gives her feedback afterwards as well, and she sort of gave me a nice review afterwards. So said nice things about me. So I've got a lot to thank Jodie for, really. But I still actually didn't get the job at first. They went with a couple of others over me, so I got told no for a second year. But then they told me that there's a chance we might go to 15 celebrities this year instead of 14. Wow. As normally it was 14. Depends on budget, and it depends on a lot of different things. You know, we're looking to make the show bigger. If it's an extra female celebrity, you're on a short list of a few boys.
God, it must be like, so, you're sitting at home going, am I going to do it?
Can you hang on? And I said, I will. And then I was thinking, right, what am I going to do? Because it looks like this isn't going to happen for me. And I was sort of looking at musicals again. Should I maybe, you know, audition for some musicals?
And Karen's in it though.
Karen's already in it. She'd already been contracted for a second year.
What did she get for the second year? What was the
So her first year was Nikki Byrne from Westlife. And her second year was Dave Myers, one of the hairy bikers.
Oh yeah. He did well though.
Yeah, they were great. Yeah, they're amazing. And then it was basically, it looked like it wasn't happening. Then about a week before Strictly started, I got a phone call saying, right, we are going to a bigger show. We're going to have 15 celebrities this year. It's an extra female. Do you want the job? Are you still available? And I sort of jumped up and down and went, yeah, definitely, of course.
Biggest show on TV.
Yeah. And then they said, right, you start on Monday. And I was just thrown in. And, you know, a couple of weeks later, we're introduced to the celebrities, and that was when we're in this lineup, and so Bruce Forsyth goes introduce the new pros, and they're all they all had long names and from all over the world. So he's reading the teleprompter, going, we've got Aljaž Skoljanec from Slovenia, Iveta Lukasiuta from Lithuania, and going through all these names. He went, finally, one I can say, Kevin from Grimsby. And everyone sort of laughed, and I got paired up with Susanna Reid.
Oh, she was lovely though.
Who was amazing. Yeah, I mean, that was a godsend for me as my first year, because she was so hard-working, but so like she really embraced the show. I think she just threw herself in.
Well, she's a glamorous woman, and I think that helps actually from when you watch the show, because obviously we're all fans, but I think if they're not used to glamour, and you've got to try and turn them into glamour as well, and then teach them glamorous dances. If they're kind of plain, I don't mean that in a cruel way, but they think, I don't want to be tanned, I don't want to be glitter. You know what
that's
I mean?
when it's a problem.
And I think for men, there was a golfer that we interviewed, I can't remember his name, Tony, sounds awful, but he was a very famous golfer, and he was pretty useless.
Oh, Tony Jacklin,
was it? But he was lovely. I loved
nice
him,
guy,
because he was like what we would be. Well, not me, but I would be. And I was thinking, gosh, brave to come on the show. Do you think they're brave when they turn up?
I think so. I think at first they think, oh, this is going to be great, it's going to be a laugh, and it's all, it's Strictly and it's glamorous and it's going to be great fun, I'm going to learn a cha-cha-cha and, all of this stuff. And then when it hits them is when it gets to the first live show. Oh, yeah. So the launch show's fine, it's all exciting, and they're getting paired up with their partner, and then they have a few weeks to sort of train first, and then the first live show hits, and then suddenly it's like, right, I've got to do this dance in this outfit in front of 12, 13 million people.
What's that like, Kevin, when they go to you on that camera, and when they say dancing the whatever, and you two go and you're both grinning. Now, obviously you're not nervous. Or are you nervous because you've kind of got to drag them round, I don't mean that rudely, but I've often thought that the dancer must think, well, I know this, but now I've got to get this person to kind of for a minute go around the floor.
It's crazy because you know that they're nervous, and I get nervous. I've always kind of suffered with stage fright quite a lot, so I'm really nervous before going on. So I'm aware that I've got to make sure that they're not nervous, and I can't show that I'm nervous. I've got to look like I'm confident and everything's fine.
You're hiding your own nerves. It's fine.
So and I'm just you want them to get through it, and they can be the most experienced performers ever, and still suddenly they're taken out of their comfort zone and thrust into this position where suddenly they're completely out of their comfort zone, and everything can go wrong. I mean, when I danced with Louise Redknapp, I mean, she's a very experienced performer. She sang in front of hundreds of thousands of people. She's had a career where she's in America and here where she's sung in front of thousands and thousands of people. And then week one we were doing Jive, and she stood there and it went, right, we're going to, next up is Louise Redknapp, Kevin Clifton, we're going to the VT package, and we're stood there in the studio, judges are sat there like this, ready for us to start while the VT is playing on the screen.
My stomach's going now.
And she's turned round and she said to me, I don't know what the first step is. I've forgotten the whole routine. I went, what? And she said, I'm really sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know I can't remember one thing.
Gosh,
it's
what
gone.
do you do then? Okay,
I went, it's okay. So I was supposed to be starting up on the stairs and she was starting in the middle of the floor. So I came to it and I went, right, let's go. Like, you start here, it's going to be right foot, you do this with your arm, I'm going to come over here, then I'm going to take you this way. And she was looking at me like, what? And I'll go, don't worry. And I'm taking her through it as this package is playing on the screen. And then, the floor manager's going, okay, 10 seconds, guys, 10, 9, 8, it's going to be fine. Just take this hand and step on that foot first, and then it's going to happen. Don't worry. Like that, she goes, okay, turn around. And the fear, like coming out of her was unbelievable. It went really well in the end.
You never know, I remember that.
Yeah, it went really well.
Obviously, she's my generation, I love Louise. And I was thinking, what a good dancer she is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
But she was terrified, absolutely terrified. She didn't know what was happening going into that first time. And that happens quite often.
I was going to say, do you all get afterwards and say, oh, mine's terrible?
It happens quite often. I mean, on the last series with Susan Kalman, we had, yeah, she was so much fun.
She at least looked like she was enjoying it
She
all.
did.
You know, yeah.
She was so much fun. And me and her had such a laugh. And like all week we'd be laughing and chatting. Like we got on like a house on fire. And then on the day of the show as well, we'd hang out, you know, and catering and just be chatting away about anything really. And then suddenly, as soon as it came to us performing on the live show, she suddenly go really quiet. And at first I didn't know whether that was just her process of getting ready, calming us off for the show, but it turned out it was just nerves started to really kick in. And I could tell when she was nervous, she'd go really super quiet. It suddenly dawns on them that they've got to do this thing. And I get it, like I understand because it happens to me, like I do it myself. I have to become a different person before I perform. Like I
singing
can't.
a song thinking I don't know the first words, so you go,
Yeah.
everybody?
Yeah. Everybody sing along in front of the microphone, and then you sort of can't do that on Strictly. Like everybody get up and dance this bit.
No, listen, we've got to be quick because we know you've got to, you're performing this afternoon.
Yes.
I want to ask one quick question. Well, a couple of quick questions really. I read in your biography, Hacker Time. Have you been on Hacker?
Yes, done Hacker Time.
Hacker
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
I've all you've done, Kevin. That to me was the thing. But I thought, Hacker.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Because he's got these. What I love about the whole thing was, I was trying to find it online, but I just love the fact that he's really cheeky, but in an adult way. That I don't think goes over the kids and the northern thing with the paste sandwiches.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. At first, I was sort of, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't know how I'm going to keep my eyes focused on focused there on the dog, but in the end it just became like it was a person and you were talking to this thing, and that was great fun. I love doing anything like that.
And then so just to remind everybody, your tour is going right through now until when does it finish for you?
Yeah, so that little show that we started in Grimsby has now become a huge sort of national tour with a big production, with a production company, and like the sort of dream has come true.
You become moguls. Really, when you think about it, from, as you say, putting a star cloth up in your hometown to sort of like taking it around.
And we've got a 13-piece orchestra and
nice.
full orchestra and 2 singers, 7 other dancers apart from us, our whole production team, you know, lights and that, like it's a real show now.
But do they react differently in different areas? Because I know you were just saying you were in Guildford last night, and obviously everybody's looking forward to you going in Grimsby. But you know, when you go, are they slightly different? Do different dancers get them going more? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny because obviously we talk to the audience as well throughout the show, and different audiences react to different things. There'll be one night you can say like one comment, and the whole audience is going nuts. You know, like a northern crowd, for example, will go nuts for a certain thing, and it doesn't quite land in the south, and vice versa. There'll be some dances that down here will get an incredible reaction, and in the north it's like they're not so bothered about that one. They want to come back and do the other kind of stuff, and it's
show
like,
us something else, love.
So it's really interesting, but I love it. I really enjoy it. I like just figuring the audiences out, and
you're learning all the time, aren't you? Because as you say, that's the thing. You know, you put a show together maybe in a rehearsal room and you think, this is great, but you have to tweak it as you're going along. We were just talking off camera about how you said, you know, you can't run over in shows, and you've got a bit going and it's going really well, but you're thinking, gotta get out, you know what I mean?
I'm being told off because you know, we run, can we shave about 10 minutes off the show? Can you know, not talk on that bit or something? But I'm saying, but on that bit, like, the crowd gets going, and I want that. You want that energy in the room, because I really want this show to be, and it has been so far. It's almost more of a concert than just a piece of theatre. Like, I want the audience to enjoy themselves. I want it to be like they're watching Strictly, like not just that they've gone to sort of a serious dance piece of theatre. Because I think what's brilliant about Strictly, and what I also love about, say, the Matthew Bourne stuff and Burn the Floor and all that type of stuff, it's sort of accessible. All of a sudden, it allows the audience to come and have a great time watching dance.
I don't feel like it doesn't matter if I don't know what the dances are.
I
just like what you're doing.
You know I don't want people to sit in the audience feeling under pressure to experience dance. like that it's all serious. I want people to just come and have a great night out, you know.
Would it put you off if somebody put a paddle up on the front row, Kevin?
It depends what number it is.
You know, I've often thought that when you're doing a show, somebody there, and you think, what? How dare you?
If it's a 10, I'm fine with it.
And are you back with Strictly this year? Do you know?
Yes.
So you're back.
Yeah.
So you've no idea who you're going to be with?
No, I don't. We never find out who the celebrities are. We find out along with the rest of the country, basically. We're sort of looking at the gossip columns and the papers as much as everyone else to find out who might be doing it.
Have you got any dream person? J-Lo?
No, that'd be amazing.
Do you know what I mean?
Beyonce, yeah.
Just a few like that, you know.
But I put a thing out on social media the other day of any suggestions about who people would like.
Yeah.
Most of the sort of the biggest feedback that I got, like people were saying, a lot of people were saying, I'd love to see you dance with Nadia Hussain from Bake Off.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
You know, that she'd be great.
It'd be interesting to see, I don't mean that cruelly, but whether she could do it.
Yeah.
Because she's a very confident cook.
Yeah.
And I like the way she presents things, but as you were saying,
Yeah.
totally different.
Yeah.
No bolt behind.
People are saying, people like Dawn French they'd like to see.
Yeah.
A lot of people said Meghan Markle. I don't think that's going to happen.
But Camilla Parker Bowles loves it, doesn't she?
Apparently she's a big
She
fan.
loves it,
Yeah.
So, you know,
That'd be exciting.
Can you imagine though if you got her and you had to tell her she's doing it wrong?
I know.
You think you'd be in the tower, wouldn't you? Like, you know, off you go. You know, I've got to win, or else I'll tell Charles. You know?
But to be honest, for me, the most important thing for me is just that they're nice people and that we get on. I think that's the first thing, and that they're willing to just embrace it. Because as the show has shown before, it's not always necessarily that the most naturally talented dancers in the bunch don't always make it, you know, as far as the final. And like Susan Kalman made it to week 10 on the last series.
She was great though.
I
think what really
she just embraced the whole thing.
She just, you two, you could tell you got on, and I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And also the fact that she was funny, you know, she kind of couldn't believe she'd done it herself at the end. You'd be like, oh, I finished, you know. And you think, I like that. I hate that phrase, but that journey when they have grown, and you think it must be lovely to be able to go off. And you've taught them something that is a skill for life.
Yeah.
You know, I look at it like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she was the favourite to go every week, like right from week 1. So she treated it as if I'm probably going to get kicked out this week, but I'm just going to enjoy myself.
And that's what it should be.
And she was a super fan of the show. She told me when we first started, she was like, this was like me and my wife would sit and watch this with a takeaway and a glass of wine. Like this was our show every Saturday night, and I've always wanted to be a part of it. Now I'm on it, I'm just going to enjoy myself. and I think that came across, and I think that's really important on the show. That, of course, in essence, it's a competition, but at the end of the day, it's not life or death competition, and you know, you just want to see people giving it a go. Yeah, they just want to embrace it, give it a go, enjoy yourself.
You're not winning thousands of pounds.
No, or 180 quid from Black.
They give you the thing. I think, is that it? You know,
yeah.
It's like, you know,
yeah.
Something you could get from Poundland.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, Kevin, listen, it's been lovely to talk to you. Finally, to meet and chat with Kevin from Grimsby.
Oh yeah,
Absolute
nice
pleasure.
to meet you too.
Thank you.